Victory and self-confidence. Something for you, something for me. That's the law of attraction and self-confidence in simplicity. Joyous and giving, listening and kind, the gifts inside you are what you must find. And that's what we're talking about today on this podcast. As entrepreneurs, we see the world with our eyes wide open, and therefore we come across many bright, shiny objects on any given day. This podcast is a vehicle to open your perspective about which shiny ideas are going to keep you on course and which ones are taking you to the point of distraction. Hi, it's Cheri Ruskus back with you for another podcast. And this week we are talking about self-confidence, something that all of us strive for and desire to have in our life, because we know with self-confidence comes happiness, hope, and oh, so many things. And I thought today I would share with you from my book, Victory One Moment at a Time, a variety of things, because self-confidence is one of the mastermind principles that I hold dear to me and that I have worked with in our Victory Circles mastermind for so many years now. And in my book, Victory One Moment at a Time, one of the chapters is totally devoted to self-confidence. And what I wanted to share with you right out of the bat was one of the stories from that book. And what I talked about myself as a teenager when I was 15. You know, as most teenagers, it was a turbulent time in my life. And I was just talking to some girlfriends about this just last night, as a matter of fact, and how hard it was to be 15. But for me, my mother had just remarried. She married a man with 6 children. Not sick. Did I just say sick? 6. Count them. 6 children. And we moved away. And this was the hardest part of it all. I mean, if that wasn't enough, we moved away from the little town that I grew up in and made it very, very difficult for me, because my girlfriends that I had grown up with, these are the girlfriends I actually was talking to last night. So after all these years, we're still the best of friends. And it was just me. There was no more we. It was just me. And I felt alone and isolated. I never had to really make friends before, because I'd grown up with my friends. They'd always been there, it seemed. And so I did what sadly is becoming quite the norm here in our country. And I tried to kill myself. I just one day couldn't take it anymore. I was so sad all the time, so fearful all the time. I had no hope, no belief that I would ever get past where I was. And I overdosed on some pills. And luckily, my sister was there I called out to her, told her what I had done because there came a point when I was like, really, Cheri, what have you just done? And do you really want to die? And I knew in that moment I didn't. My sister was there, called 911, got the ambulance. My stomach was pumped and I was back into getting back out there in life again. And it was not an easy road by any stretch of the imagination. And the years ahead of me were tough through my teenage years. And, you know, we all have our battles, right? We all have things that we go through. So, and one of the biggest reasons I see for business failure is not all the elements that happen, but it's getting that one foot in front of the other when things don't go the way that we want them to. When somebody says the dreaded no to us that we don't want to hear. And, you know, I see so many wannabe entrepreneurs that are just afraid of rejection and people saying no to them. And really, if I think back to the 15-year-old me, that was it, right? I went to this new school. People knew each other. You know, were they going to take me in as their friend? I was afraid to even ask for them to be my friend. And I'm happy to say in my senior year, I met, it took me a couple of years to really get a dear friend. And I did in my senior year. And Laura, if you're ever listening to this, thank God for you, because you really helped me through. It's still, we still connect today. So, think about that, and the how confidence comes in all shapes and sizes, again, depending on where you are in your life. And if someone would have told me back then that I would be the person I am today, that I would have spent so many years of my life in sales and become a coach and do all that I have done, I would have said, "What? Are you crazy? That's never going to happen." And in my case, what's interesting is that I took a job when I was in my very early 20s. I took a job, I was probably 21 maybe, at a company called Wilderness Experience. And I'll never forget when I went to apply for the job, I actually thought that it was some kind of a, amusement animal park or something, because the newspaper ad actually had little animals in the ad. I'll never forget that. As I'm thinking about it right now, I can totally picture that ad. And I applied for the job, got the job in customer service. And it was really my first. I had worked in a hamburger place and a women's clothing shop and had done some things, but this was like my first time in real on customer service. And what was so interesting is that quickly the customer service job really turned into a sales job, because as the customer service team, there was me and several other women and girls. We were very young, and we were asked to do a lot of things that were above and beyond customer service. And we got to know these small backpacking shops all over. My territory was the Southwest, which is actually what landed me here in Colorado. I was in Southern California at the time. And we would, we were calling on these customers, giving them great service, not even thinking about it being sales, until we were asked by management the company was going public, and we were asked to, step up our game and to try to sell. There was a big inventory overload. So I reached out to my relationships, and I ended up closing almost $500,000 sale. Me closing that much, and was all based on relationship and my confidence, only because I had built the relationship first. And I think that's one of the really important things about the law of attraction and looking at how we go out. That's why cold calls, please, are the worst thing in the world, I think, because we're just asking somebody to buy something from us. We've all had it happen to us, telemarketers, etc. They don't really care about us. They care about the almighty dollar, and we can feel it and we know it. And that's where it's different if you can change and shift the way that you approach things. And again, why cold calls don't work. And all the time I get people both on my business line, my telephone line, and through what was I going to say? LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, but LinkedIn makes me crazy, because all people do is try to sell you stuff, and so without building relationships, right? It's going straight in for the sale. So think about that as you look at your own self-confidence, and really we have to build it from the inside, right? We have to own it from the inside, our confidence, because nobody can give it to you. Nobody can give you self-confidence. You have to do it. And why I named today's podcast Consistently Confident is because whatever we do consistently is usually what we are confident in. If you think about it, anything in your life today or in the past that you have just really been confident about, you've usually done it for a long period of time. And that's where I would encourage you to look at What stops you from being consistent in the things that matter the most to you? If you're looking at building your business, where in your business are you not being consistent? I know I talk to people all the time about creating their newsletters, which it's become a joke with me and some of my clients because they're like, yeah. I've sent it out or I haven't sent out my newsletter on a consistent basis. And here's the deal. Like, why not? Because you got too busy, because you thought you were bugging people. I actually used to have a workshop that I taught on email marketing called Stop Bugging and Start Enriching, because that's the ticket. That's what we want to be doing, is enriching people by sending out emails that have really good information or inspiring information. My victory letter that I've sent out for going on almost 23 years now. I mean, that's what it's there for. Yeah. Do I every once in a while promote a workshop I'm doing, or, we've got our new planner that we're selling. And do I every once in a while talk about that? Absolutely. But I also want to make sure that I'm giving good content. What if your daily to-dos turned into your daily ta-das? Yes, your triumphant achievements and daily activities. What if you tracked your goals not only annually, but monthly and weekly and even daily in order to actually bring them to life? What if you had a planner that was actually designed for the small business owner, complete with a way to manage your systems and ideas? With the BSO, Bright Shiny Object Grow Planner, you can make that a reality. This paper planner comes with the Grow Sessions online coaching program that will take your planning to a whole new level. You can learn more at businessvictories.com/grow planner. Napoleon Hill, in his book, The Master Key to Riches, he had 12 riches in life that I thought I would share with you today. And I also had put them in my book, Victory One Moment at a Time, because I'm kind of skimming through the book, getting some of the highlights that I found from this chapter. And so here's the 12 riches. And think about it in your life right now. Where do you stand with these? Number one is having a positive mental attitude. How consistent are you with that? Is your mental attitude good some days and maybe not others? Is there something that you find triggers you to not have a positive mental attitude? Like, what can you do in the area of your mental attitude? I talked recently here on the podcast about morning momentum and the importance of starting your day with a really positive attitude, because you've spent time with yourself looking at the to-dos that you want to have in your day. So what are you doing consistently to ensure that you have a positive mental attitude? Number two is sound physical health. We've talked about that on the podcast here before a number of times. And, this machine that we were given at birth that has, changed a lot over time. Oh boy, a lot. But what are we doing on a regular, consistent basis, from the foods that we put into our body to, the activities, exercise, etc., that we do, or maybe even just, checking out things that aren't feeling so good in our body, and maybe whether getting to the doctor or some kind of a physical being, something that can help you. What am I trying to say here? Somebody or something that can help your body feel better if you're feeling a lot of ongoing pain, because nothing can really make confidence go down than like when you don't feel good. Like, think of it. When we've got a bad cold, do we feel like getting out there and being confident? No, we just want to get under the covers and stay there for the rest of the day. So what are you doing to ensure your sound physical health? Number three is harmony in human relationships. How are the relationships? Like, how confident are you with the relationships that you keep? What are the relationships that you keep? As I mentioned about my girlfriends that I grew up with, over the years, there might have been some time that we didn't talk a lot. Now, and it's amazing with the pandemic, we ended up having happy hour every Friday because we live in different parts of the country now. And, over the pandemic, we started doing this happy hour every Friday, which just really concreted our relationship once again. And it was like, it really helped all of us get through so that we could help all those that counted on us to get through as well. One of the things I talk about with our BSO Grow Planner is one of the elements of the daily activities is to, 5 contacts a day, or just what are 5 relationships that you want to make sure that you consistently are reaching out. And, it could be with a family member, a friend, a colleague, a client. But, if you think about all the people in the world that we need to connect with in order to have healthy human relationships, to have that harmony in them, it's pretty amazing if you look at really tending to that and making sure that you're taking care of it consistently. And that's where I like the 5 connections a day, because it just helps you to make sure that you're going to do that. Number 4 is freedom from fears. Think about how often, or not, right? We're all different. But fear has stopped you. Where is fear stopping you right now that you really want to do something with your life, but you're so afraid that you just can't do it? You get, it's like the deer in the headlights. Look at that. And, one of the helpful things is to write down the fears and what could you do consistently to help you get past that fear, to get you to move through the fear, because we have to move through fear to move forward. So freedom from fears. Number 5 is the hope of achievement. As I mentioned with, my suicide attempt all those years ago, that I had no hope. There was just nothing. And I see it with entrepreneurs. As an entrepreneur, I've been there sometimes where, you look at the bank account, you look at the bills, you look at, what has or hasn't happened, what you had hoped would happen, it didn't happen. And that's where you have to turn it around to build new hope. Sometimes, things just don't work out the way we planned. But do we give up? The answer is no, because when we give up, we give up. And there's no moving forward. Then there's really, truly no hope in any of that. So the hope of achievement. And again, that's such a wide, broad spectrum of what you want to actually achieve from your personal life to your business life and all those things in between. Number 6 is the capacity for faith. And, I've talked about it on this podcast in the past, and I talk about it in my workshops and people that I talk to. And when I talk about faith, it isn't about a particular religion. It's more about just faith in humankind, which some days is a little hard to do. I will admit to that. But just, that spiritual faith, that belief that we've been given this beautiful planet to live on. And what do we do with the faith of all of that? Again, I'm going to go back to morning momentum. And it's that time every day to relish in that, and to really have faith and belief that things can change if they're not what you want them to be, or that you have the power within you to make things change. Number 7 is willingness to share one's blessings. We all have, there's that attitude of gratitude and the willingness to share the things that we've been blessed with. So whether it's the work that you do. Talk about sales, and people get so tied up around, I'm selling something to somebody, and but not looking at it in that light, but looking at it that I am actually sharing this gift that was given. I feel that way about my coaching. When I work with my clients, I feel blessed that I have had this ability to take my years as an entrepreneur and share it with other clients. And people who want to make a change and do that. So what are the blessings that you are open and willing to share with others that could make a big difference in their life? Number 8 is a labor of love. One thing I know for sure, having worked jobs that I didn't love, if you think about a labor of love from a working perspective, I can tell you, and along my way, I've had a number of jobs, including one summer, I lived in Central California for a little while, and I packed peaches. If you've ever had a job that was not a labor of love, it would be packing peaches. However, for me, it was not. However, there were women that I worked next to when I was doing that who did love it. They loved being outside. It was just, they enjoyed doing it. So all of our labors of love are different, but I would ask you to stop and look at the work that you do. Do you love the work that you do? And if you don't, what could you do? Where would your confidence come in to actually do a labor of love? I am recently watching or listening to this woman who does these chairs. She reupholsters chairs, Whimsy Chair, I think it's called, or something. I apologize. I can't remember the exact name of it. I saw her on Instagram, and I'm taking this little course because I'd like to reupholster a chair I have. And her passion for her work of reupholstering chairs is just really inspiring, of finding the frames and the color and all that she's done, that she's created this business, and now she's teaching others how to do it as well, which is just brilliant, I think. What is your labor of love? What do you do in your life consistently? And I'm going to keep using that word consistently, that really makes you happy about the labor of love. I am an avid gardener, and I tell you, gardening is not easy work. I always say that. If you call it yard work, it's work. If you call it gardening, it's a whole different situation. And there are some days at the end of a day of gardening that every muscle in my body hurts, and I feel so good. I am filled with joy and love for my garden, except for last summer when I had a bunch of grasshoppers in my garden. But I did get, I did beat the battle with the grasshoppers, and I'm hoping they don't come back this year. But what is that? That is a labor of love for me. Like, gardening isn't a chore. It's not work. I love it. And so what that labor that you do that you love? All right. That's number 8. Moving on to number 9 is having an open mind on all subjects. Now, this is really an interesting one, and especially here in the U.S., we have gotten a little closed-minded. I want to say, not everybody, and I like to think of myself as pretty open-minded, but, there's some things that I get a little, I don't know if I believe that or that or that, but being open-minded and actually listening to other people, there is that art and that skill of listening to people. And what I will tell you when it comes to confidence, it's when we learn from others and keeping that open mind of listening to what people have taught us. I mean, have you ever started a conversation with someone believing one thing and then ending the conversation feeling totally different, or at least starting to, like, there's rays of light that are starting to go, wow, there's a different way that I could possibly think about that. And I think that the United States of America would be such a better country if we could open our mind. Not to get political on this podcast, but I'm just just going to say that. Or even if you think about with your family, your children, like how can you have a better open mind? And maybe it's a friendship to have an open mind, because sometimes we feel slighted or hurt or whatever, to have an open mind to understand why someone might be feeling the way that they are. Number 10 from Napoleon's list, which is a great list, don't you think? I really, I put this in my book and I'm glad that I did, is self-discipline. Hello. Consistency and self-discipline go hand in hand with each other. And looking at how often do I make myself do what I say I'm going to do, and whether it's a small daily habit or ritual, what is it I'm doing? Again, thinking about the consistency piece that and self-discipline is all around it. I don't think I need to say too much more about it, but looking at it, discipline is a harsh word, but when we look at it to ourselves and really, what do I want to say? That it doesn't have to be harsh. It just has to be in control of ourselves a little bit more. We have a lot of choices in our life of things that we want to do, say, be, etc. And it's having discipline around the things that must happen consistently. And especially if you are a small business, like without that self-discipline, getting your bookkeeping done, which, is not one of my strongest suits, or getting your marketing done, which I'm much better at, or getting making sure you're following up with your customers. Think of all the things, even in a small business, where you've got to have self-discipline in order for that business to run smoothly. In your household, if you own a home, the self-discipline of making sure that everything in your house is running smoothly. Just all the things. Even looking at all the elements on this list and having self-discipline around them is so important. So self-discipline. Number 11, as we start to wind up this list, is the capacity to understand people, which kind of takes us back to number 9 about the open mind on all subject, but the capacity to understand people. Like, we may not agree, but it's important that we understand, that we figure out where they're coming from as well as where we're coming from. And we can learn so much from each other when we do that, without a doubt. Number 12 is economic security. That is going to give us a lot of confidence, right? Think about it when your bank account is full and when your bank account is empty. How do you feel differently in that point of time and place? And where does it take you to, and where does it take you from? And economic security comes in all kinds of shapes and forms. But one of the biggest ones that I have is just really facing your economics. So often I see, especially in small businesses, people just try to blow it off or try not to do. There's a lot of steps that you can take, from budgeting to projecting to, really just doing cash flow analysis, etc., that a lot of small businesses don't do. They just don't even want to look at it. And so it's having the confidence to look at the money, the reality of it. If your business isn't making enough money, what do you need to change? What do you need to do to make that happen? So those are the 12 laws, the 12 riches in life that Napoleon talked about. And I loved his quote that he said, "All riches of whatever nature begin with the state of mind." And then finally today, I just wanted to talk about this whole idea of the power of attraction, because that is such a important piece of confidence. When we can attract people to us, when we're attracted to other people, and there's a mutual power of attraction going on. And I want you to think about when you've been really excited about something. And maybe if you're a small business owner or entrepreneur, that when you got excited about the first glimpse of an idea about your business, do you remember that? I mean, I remember mine when I first decided I was going to go into business for myself. I was scared, but I was so excited that the excitement took me past the fear. And I think that that's something that we really need to look at. But sometimes after you've been in the business a while, you've been working 12-hour days or whatever's been happening, that you're feeling a little burnt out, the excitement starts to fade. Finding ways for that law of attraction to always come into play, always finding ways to spark yourself again. So let me ask you a couple of questions here that really is around your excitement. If you look at your life right now and the confidence levels that you have in things, what are you most excited about in your life right now, today? What is that thing that sets your heart on fire? What is it that you love to think about and act on and then actually do consistently? I'm going to throw that word consistently in there, that makes you just feel good every single time you're doing it. Do you try to incorporate it into your daily life and business? I love, love, love stories of people who were doing something that they loved, from an art endeavor to, my two children. I will just say my two grown children are really an example of that. And I am very proud of them. I'm a proud mama for both my daughter, who's known as Chef Bay, my son, Travis Ruskus, who took what they loved and incorporated it into their daily life and their business. My son is a rock balance artist, helping people all over the globe just to find this mindfulness, that not only the beautiful art that he creates in his rock balancing, but the mindfulness that comes from that skill set. And my daughter is known as Chef Bay, Bailey Ruskus. She is just amazing. She has taken her love for food, which she's had. We all have a love for food, but she had a love for cooking food ever since she was a little girl. And, I've had her on the podcast. If you haven't listened to that podcast yet, it's just probably 10 podcasts back. We just started off this new series with her and I doing an interview, and it's a very inspiring interview to hear about just her excitement around food. And I absolutely love to watch her cook, because she speaks what she shows the world, and really has excitement in what she does every day. So really looking at that, incorporating, what you love to do and to put it into your daily life, and getting your self-confidence to truly soar. If that was one of your goals, we have goals that we set. As I record this, we're rounding up January of this year, and moving into February. Actually, by the time this podcast comes out, it will be February. Amazing. What if your goal was to have more confidence? What if you were to have more confidence around the goals that you set? What difference would that make for you? And I really invite you to look at that, and that if your courage towards those goals was at 100% capacity, what would you accomplish along your way? So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I wish you just such, what do I want to say, peace around confidence, and knowing the journey that we're all on. We've had our ups and downs, ins and outs when it comes to confidence. Some days better than others. We're all there, but never to give up the ship in the process. And to remember, just keeping the whole idea of the bright, shiny objects, or what are the bright, shiny objects that are in front of you that you're excited about, that you have confidence that bright, shiny object is going to make a difference. And maybe what's on the flip side of that, what's the bright, shiny object that has been bringing you down, and that maybe you need to let go of, that it was once you thought it was a really good idea, but it's just not that anymore. It's okay to let things go as well, so you can get back to the things that you can consistently do that are bringing you joy and happiness. And at the end of the day, that's what matters the most. So that's it. Thanks for being here, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening to the Bright Shiny Object Project, available on all your favorite podcast players. To be notified of upcoming podcasts and get inspiration sent to your inbox each Monday morning, subscribe to the Victory Letter at businessvictories.com/victory letter. Remember, with the right mindset and systems in place, quite literally anything is